All right, let's jump straight into today's explainer. We're going to unpack a really fascinating story that absolutely masterfully illustrates power dynamics, survival, and reciprocity. We're looking at a classic narrative derived from our source text, and we're going to break down how a single, seemingly insignificant moment of mercy can quite literally turn the entire hierarchy of the jungle completely upside down. So, we are going to hook right into the core tension of our source material here by asking a pretty fundamental question. Can the smallest creature in the jungle actually save its most powerful king? I mean, it completely challenges our basic assumptions, right? It asks if sheer size and brute strength are the only things that determine your ability to change destiny, or if there's maybe something a little more subtle at play. Which brings us to Section 1, an unlikely encounter, the king and the pest. It's a sleepy afternoon, and we have this extreme physical disparity between our two subjects. In one corner, you've got the mighty lion, the undisputed king of the jungle who's just resting after a massive meal. And in the other corner, a tiny, playful little mouse who spots this sleeping giant and decides, hey, the king of the jungle would make an excellent playground. This really sets the stage for a massive role reversal later on. Now, as you can guess, this spontaneous decision to use a sleeping apex predator as a jungle gym escalates pretty fast. The source tells us the mouse is just running up and down the sleeping lion, eventually sliding right down his tail. Well, naturally, this is a terrifying wake-up call for the lion. He wakes up roaring in sheer fury, and in a split second, he traps the struggling, absolutely terrified little mouse under his massive paws. He bares his sharp teeth. He is ready for a snack. So, moving to Section 2. The mouse's bold promise, a desperate plea for life. We're at a moment of just absolute vulnerability here. The mouse is firmly trapped. It is literally life or death. Staring right into the jaws of doom, the trembling mouse begs for his life. But here's the crucial point. He doesn't just ask for mercy. He offers a transaction. The sheer audacity of this is incredible. The mouse is offering future help to a massive beast that seemingly needs absolutely nothing from anyone, especially not a rodent. And what's really fascinating here is the lion's reaction. He literally laughs out loud at the idea of a tiny mouse helping him. But he opens his paw, he lets the mouse go. The lion's deeply pragmatic, almost funny reason for sparing the mouse is simply that he had just eaten. He warns the grateful mouse to never mess with him again or else. So it's an act of mercy for sure, but one born completely out of a full stomach rather than, say, a moral sense of duty. Fast forward a few days to Section 3, the hunter's trap, the king captured. So we see this dramatic shift in the jungle's power structure because human hunters intervene. Let's break down exactly how they managed to neutralize the jungle's top predator. First, they lay a net trap and hide. The unsuspecting lion just walks right into the area, and boom, the hunters pull the rope, snaring him completely. Then, realizing they've caught something way too heavy to carry, they leave the thrashing lion to go back to the village and fetch a large cart. Just notice how quickly the tension rises here, minute by minute. The king's panicked, desperate roars are echoing through the trees as he tries, and absolutely fails, to escape this tightened net. And those roars carry all the way across the jungle until they reach the ears of, you guessed it, the very creature he recently spared. Recognizing that the king is in deep, deep trouble, the mouse immediately rushes toward the danger. Which brings us to Section 4. A tiny hero emerges, repaying the debt. This is where our story's cause and effect narrative truly pays off. The tiny mouse decides to actually make good on his seemingly impossible promise. Just notice the sheer confidence of this little guy. He arrives at the scene, steps right up to this huge, intimidating net, and basically says, I got this. He assures the terrified king that rescue is imminent. There's no hesitation. It's just a firm commitment to repay the debt of his life. So how does he do it? Well, the mouse leverages his unique biological advantage, his razor-sharp teeth, to painstakingly gnaw through the trap. He climbs right onto the ropes and gets to work. And this proves a pretty fascinating point. Sometimes problems require precision and specific tools, not just brute strength. The lion's immense power was totally useless against those ropes, but the mouse's tiny teeth? They were exactly what was needed to sever the snare. Finally, Section 5, the power of kindness, the ultimate reversal. With the lion finally free, the entire dynamic between these two shifts completely. It goes from predator and pest to absolute equals. The lion has this profound realization here. He understands that even the smallest creature can provide massive, life-saving help. So, out of deep gratitude, the lion elevates the mouse's status entirely. He declares that since he saved the king, the mouse is officially the prince of the jungle, welcome to live there happily without ever being bothered again. And I absolutely love this heartwarming callback. As the mouse turns to leave, the lion actually stops him and invites his new friend to jump on his back and slide down his tail. I mean, this completely reverses his initial violent anger from the very start of our explainer. What was once a punishable offense is now just a fun game between two friends. And, just to really solidify this new bond, the duo gets to flex their reliance immediately. The hunters come back from the village with their big cart, expecting this trapped prize. But instead, they see a very angry, freed lion standing side by side with a mouse. The two animals fiercely charge at the returning hunters together, absolutely terrifying them and sending them packing back to the village forever. So, let's distill the core takeaways we've just covered. First, no act of kindness, even one born from a full stomach, is ever wasted. It really highlights how true strength comes in all shapes and sizes, and that yes, even the most powerful kings in the world need help sometimes. And lastly, it shows the sheer power of integrity. A promise made, even one that sounds completely impossible at the time, can absolutely be a promise kept. One single act of mercy triggered a complete chain reaction of survival. We're going to wrap up this explainer by turning the narrative right back to you. Who is the mouse in your life that you might be underestimating right now? It really challenges us to reflect on the hidden potential in the seemingly small or insignificant things around us. Because, as we've seen today, sometimes the smallest presence can have the most monumental impact on your survival. Keep that in mind and always look for hidden strengths in the most unexpected places.